Download the BCSN Plus app today.
Welcome back to Game Day Nation, and look who we have in studio, Travis Galloway, Notre Dame head coach. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time.
I appreciate the offer.
So, obviously, we're very excited to have you here, but let's talk a little ball real quick. 9-7, but I feel like the record doesn't tell the entire story. You're one of those coaches, you do not duck smoke at all from any team. Why does it matter for you to schedule such a tough non-conference schedule?
You know, a few years back, we started getting invited to some bigger events that played against some major competition, and we had good showings. Didn't always win those games, but had really good showings. But what it does is it prepares you for the tournament, and that's something that I think in the long run is the best for our program. You know, obviously 9-7, you want to be a little bit better than 9-7. You want to win those games as well, but it definitely prepares you for late February and March to kind of get you ready for the tournament and tournament play, because you see a lot of different styles of basketball against a lot of good players and good coaches.
You have two big wins on the year, Magnificat and Mason. Those are names across the state of Ohio that everybody knows. But the 7 losses that you had, to your credit with the scheduling, like Yao was saying, you're combined in your 7 losses, those teams are combined 82-18. What have you learned from your team through those games that's going to prepare you moving forward?
You know, I think a lot of times, you know, when you talk about athletics and in life in general, is you talk about resiliency. And you have to become resilient on how you have to get better after those games, as well as how you have to improve throughout those games. And I think that's what helps you through the tournament, because obviously when the tournament comes around, you know, you have to overcome a bad shooting night. You have to overcome foul trouble or things like that to move forward with your season. And you know, having those games and those opportunities and playing that schedule has allowed us to become a resilient group. And we've matured a little quicker, I think, because of that, and become a little tougher because of those things.
Coach, I had a quick question for you. Tomorrow, Ottawa Glandorf, 16-0, correct? Mm-hmm. So my question to you is, why are you scheduling these tough teams so late in the year? I mean, I've seen it done early in the year by coaches, but why so late in the year?
You know, obviously sometimes it's just where we can fit the game in at, you know, in some of those cases. But in other cases, it's kind of, you know, we play in a league tournament as well. And that's our goal, is to make the league tournament. So if we can make a league tournament run and hopefully get into a Final Four in our league, you know, this type of game can help propel us, you know, on that stage as well. So, you know, it's one of those things that it kind of falls, like the game kind of fell where it fell. We play against obviously a really good team tomorrow. You know, you don't get much better than 16-0. And, you know, and they're very talented, very well coached, and they have a bright tournament run ahead of them. So we're excited for the opportunity, excited for the challenge.
Let's talk about your team for a minute here, personnel-wise. You got Callie Thames, one of your leading scorers on the year. Brooklyn Armstead, another person who can stretch the floor for you. Callie Thames has had to change positions this year from what she's been accustomed to in the past. Talk about her maturation in the transition from where she was playing to what she's doing this year for you.
You know, coming into this year, she's kind of played the off guard for us. You know, she would handle the ball some and make plays for others, but you know, for the most part, she's always been kind of an off guard. You know, when we had an unfortunate injury that happened a week before our first game, we had to transition her to the point guard spot, and she's done an unbelievable job. You know, she had 9 assists last night alone, and she's kind of taken that on, and it's almost become a little bit second nature for her. And I think it's improved her game, you know, tremendously, and knowing that you have a senior that has that capability as a coach has been great, because she's kind of taken it in stride and knows that's what's best for our team, is for her to move forward with that.
All right, some girls basketball action. Perkins and Sandusky. Perkins up 55-54. Here's what I want to know, Coach Galloway. We spoke about late game situations week 1 of Game Day Nation, how when you can get into the fourth quarter, down into crunch time, you can get sped up. How do you as head coach avoid those situations when it is such a tight game?
You know, when those situations happen, we always try to go to some continuity offense, and try to slow the pace of game down a little bit. Just allow our players to take a deep breath in the moment, and then maybe go into a set play out of that. You know, it's difficult to do at times, because, you know, especially in a close game like this where it's 55-54, and, you know, you feel like you're in a pretty good rhythm offensively as both teams are scoring it pretty well. You know, so you don't want to take that momentum away from them, but you also understand fatigue could be setting in, you know, things like that, and you got to make sure that they're good for that moment.
Is it harder to do that, you think, with younger teams?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But they need the experience,
100
too.
Right. To be in those moments just only allows them to grow up quicker. And I think, when you have a senior laden team that's been in those games, I would assume those teams are a little bit more successful at that. Until you've been to the fire with those games as a young player, it's easy to be sped up.
Little tongue in cheek here. But when I see Sandusky's gym, two things come to mind, and Coach Galloway from our days back at coaching at the younger levels. The visiting locker room had all those Sports Illustrated covers all over the.
Really, that's dope.
The whole wall was all Sports Illustrated covers from across time. It was really cool. But no, glad this game's being played at night. Because as you know, in the regional, when you guys had to play there in the regional, you play those 2 o'clock afternoon games, that sun comes beating through those windows that are makes it difficult.
It does make it difficult. It was one of those games where you hope you had a coin flip and you could defer which end you wanted to go to it. But yeah, it is a little unique in the afternoon there because there is sun that comes through the one end of the gym. But Sandusky's a great facility. It's kind of an old school feel to it. It's really, honestly, it's one of the hotter gyms to play in as well. It seems like it's a furnace in there. So it's kind of a unique old school feel that obviously has a great game going on right now.
Does it toughen you up a bit?
Hold on. How many times do they play each other? I swear, it seems like
Yes,
it seems
In
like they
every
play
sport too. We
almost
got them
like
in
every other
soccer.
week.
We got them in
We just had the
volleyball.
boys laugh. I'm like, wow.
I mean, literally, they were like a mile apart, like a mile and a half apart.
Yeah.
But it makes for a good rivalry, right? And I'm sure, Coach
you're good.
Galloway, when you get into those,
you're good, it makes
sure,
for a good
of course. I'm sure when you get into those rivalry matchups, there's always something extra that adds to the matchup. I know some coaches like to treat it as just a normal game, but I'm sure there's something else
Yeah,
to it.
and coaches can say it's just a normal game all they want, but when it
not.
boils down to it, it's a tough sell to players. It's just another game too, and you try to prepare the same way as with a rivalry game and do everything the exact same. But when you get to the gym and you see who you're playing, you know who you're playing, and it's your crosstown rival. It is different, and so having these matchups is great, and for them to play on a Friday night and a great game back and forth here, obviously it kind of juices up the rivalry as well.
But in a rivalry matchup, sometimes you tend to play a little harder. But for you as head coach, how do you coach a discipline while also trying to manage the aggression of the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. You obviously want to come out and you want to play as hard as you possibly can, but keeping emotions in check from a don't do things you don't normally do standpoint is important. You just having enough poise within yourself, and also know that the records really do not matter because they're out there playing as hard as they possibly can too because they're your rival, and just how to kind of overcome those emotions early on. I think the team that settles in the most, as soon as possible usually is the one that becomes victorious, and sometimes that happens and sometimes that don't, and you're in a dogfight the whole way through.
Quick question, coaches, because you guys have seen different eras of basketball, obviously. And Rhett and I talk about this a lot. I feel in this era, I see a lot of low percentage shots taking. I mean, back in the day, if a guy took a three who wasn't supposed to, he was out. I've observed you guys, I've seen some shots. You guys don't even get upset about it. It's like okay, obviously we didn't want that shot, but you let them play through it. How are you guys adjusting to this era? Because I really feel there's a lot of threes being shot at the wrong times. I've seen it, and it's just a basketball thing, not singling out coaches, but I just see it. I'm like, at every level, what's going on? What am I missing?
Yeah, and that's probably something over the years I've adjusted more than anything, honestly, is living with bad shots sometimes. Because kids more often than ever are in the gym with trainers and doing things extra to work on their game, and a lot of it has to do with shooting. And you want to obviously be a proponent for that and for them to go in and work, but if they never use it in the game, it's kind of like why go work on it? So our whole mentality is kind of like what Coach Floyd was talking about is, if you take a bad shot in a rush shot or a bad shot, you better be able to play defense then, and you better get back and not hang your head about it. Kind of have that next play mentality, and I think that's something, from a coaching standpoint that we probably talk about more now is having that next play mentality more than anything, because you are going to take a bad shot or a rush shot, and it's something as a coach you know, it's hard to live with, but it's something you kind of live with a little bit now.
And to piggyback off of that, shot clock, right? Because with my fear, I'm an old hat, I'll admit it. I like the traditional style of basketball, but with the shot clock kind of being inevitable, it's probably going to get here sooner rather than later. You just played in an event this last weekend with the shot clock. Do you know, especially with smaller schools where kids are spread out across different sports, do you fear that could lead to maybe lower efficiency on the offensive end? And you know, what was your experience with it this last weekend?
You know, we played last weekend with a shot clock, and it didn't change the game a whole lot for the most part. There are some possessions where it gets down to about 12, 11 seconds, and you're looking for your best player to come back and get the ball and make a play for somebody or for themselves. And in those moments, instead of just, you know, continuing to run your offense or continue to work for a better shot, you do force up a tougher shot just to get a shot off. And it will lower the efficiency a little bit. I think it will change the style of play slightly a little bit. But I'm a fan of it. I liked it last weekend. I thought it was a great experience for our kids to play in it. And I could definitely, like you said, see that coming very, very shortly.
Coach Galloway, you're no stranger to losing great players over the years, but for a program with the pedigree like yours, how have you been able year after year to rebound from losing great players and remain as consistent as your teams have been?
Yeah, when Coach Floyd was talking about, you know, players playing with a chip on his shoulder, it reminded me of a team we had, it's probably been about 11 years ago now. We lost a very, very good player going into her senior year. Family decided to move, and everybody kind of wrote us off, you know, because she was our best player. And we had other players step up. We ended up playing for a state championship that year because our players didn't want to block out the outside noise. They actually kind of used that as motivation for them. And you know, I think that's kind of what's going on with Central Boys right now. And you know, we've had a good run and a lot of success and things like that. But there's always obstacles. You know, it could be an injury, it could be a transfer, you know, somebody leaving. And what you do is you just kind of get ready with your next group and make sure they're ready to play and make sure that, you know, when it's their time, you know, to have these moments, they're ready to go and they're mentally ready to go, as well as obviously ability and having a confidence that they can go out and perform as well.